This is Teresa Phelps Martin diving in today to the emotional depth. I have no idea if I've ever titled a class this before, but it's highly appropriate at this point and juncture. And all full disclosure, the moon is actually void, of course, at this very moment, but it will be in Cancer, cardinal water, and the sun is also in this cardinal water. And what does that mean? It means emotions are leading the way. This sensitivity, this the way we feel. Now, emotions and feelings are different, right? You respond to your environment, and that response brings up an internal experience that connects us to what we feel. We feel like doing push-ups. We feel a long hold in Warrior One. We feel a beautiful sunset or sunrise, right? We feel a connection to people. So with that energy, emotional depth, understanding your emotions, because a lot of us cannot put words to what we're feeling. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine, Eric, put this list of words, and they're complicated words, I can't pronounce a single one of them, that describes feelings. Like one of them was, that feeling you have when there's a thunderstorm outside and you're inside. So being able to articulate how you feel is really essential. So on some level, it's what I offer to you all the time, of getting on the mat and moving on the mat and describing the way we can make a stronger connection. So that is all emotional depth is, and I will reveal more of it. Good morning, Pat. I will reveal more of it with the new moon energy that will be surfacing tomorrow night. And in that new moon energy that's surfacing tomorrow night, okay, good. What do I will be sharing the soul scopes. You can find them. And what they are, the reason why I call them soul scopes is because it's about connecting to those deeper layers of ourselves and finding a connection and a sense of clarity, so that we can move forward. We can move forward compassionately. We can move forward with a level of confidence. So in our moving today, we will be in the hips. We will be in the belly. We will be in the womb of our heart and soul. And that is deep within. Like, just for a little understanding, before that moment of individuation, of you coming out of the womb into this world, not everybody has their first breath on their own, right? Lots of children sit in the ICU for a little while. There can be a lot of trauma in the birthing experience. So we want to be very sensitive to that and aware of those energies, but also realize that we're coming from deep within the waters of the womb, where we've been loved unconditionally. This has nothing to do with your biological mother, but has to do with just the divinity of being human and coming into this world. Because we come into this world with a little bit of a promise. One is that there's a journey beyond our comprehension. When we get into the emotional depth, when we get into the unseen layers and begin to listen and feel and tend to that sacred flame and know that that wise counsel, that wisdom comes through and it gets reflected out into the wilderness of our lives, it's kind of important. So the soul scopes are from that narrative. They're not they are for the mundane. The mundane is just us walking on this earth, but they are from the narrative of giving form through words to that which is formless. So let's move. Hips, psoas. A reminder that if we're going to work in emotional depth, I'm going to reveal more, so you have to tune in later later, but the emotional depth of connecting to this point of the rib cage to the hip point. So we're going to start lying on our back. The new moon is tomorrow, so we're in the balsamic moon. And I've shared this before, but it's worth repeating. Balsamic energy, right? It's where it's aged, and it's thick, and it's sweet, and it's dark, and it's a little thick emotional depth. And so what it is we're really in this energy of feeling into the depths of our being on a cellular level and the transmutation, because it's a really potent time. It's a really important time, this point. As the moon moves through the sign of Cancer, it's also out of bounds, and so we get to do it differently. So, hey, I'm your little guide today. So when we get into that balsamic energy, we can get into that energy of what's coming to life, right? So I have these beautiful lilies that came from my garden. I'm a lily. I have so many lilies. I love them. And they're a little out of control right now. So it's kind of like that point, and I haven't taken all the pollen off, so I have to be careful because I could start sneezing. However, it's that point where the pollen starts to dissolve and then it falls, right? It's that point where the bee comes and receives the pollen, and then it goes to deposit it into the honeycomb, right? Takes it back to the hive. So we're kind of in that place of moving back to the hive so we can start again. So we're going to start lying down, have a block. And as you're lying down, start with your knees into your chest, okay? Like a reclining child's pose. And as your knees are into your chest, not a big hug and forceful, but just a gentle embrace around your legs. Circle the ankles, wiggle the toes out, sway the head from side to side. And then once you find that the back has settled, the shoulders have settled, I want your knees to stay into your chest. Okay, no crossing of the ankles. I know it makes it easier, but then it actually disrupts the flow of energy, the flow of prana, of the life force, which that is what carries you forward. So as you're lying down and the back is settled, relax your jaw. And I want you to breathe into the bottom of your lungs as deep as you can. As much as you can feel the rib cage expanding down into the earth, out to the sides, up towards your thighs. And this point of inquiry is not to make anything happen. There's a little wildness to it. There's a little kind of naked in the moonlight energy. We're just trying to connect and not manifest. But just FYI, if you're breathing, you're manifesting all the time. Just know. Feel then, like, is the belly grumbling? Is the back tight? Is the mind anxious? All of these are the emotional waves that are flowing through us. And we feel and then we name it. And when we name it, we can move through it. Are they big feelings? Are they expansive? Is it like an overboard or an overwhelm? We bring down a divine ray of love and protection and draw a circle around ourselves, around the space that we're in, this connection, this virtual energy. And trust in the transmission that's for the highest good, harm to none. 8 breaths here. and just let the breath be, right? Smiling at whatever surface. Bring the hands to the tops of your knees, and then you're going to move the knees up towards 9 o'clock, like the top of the sky. Okay, and then we're going to move over, like we're descending in towards, it's 3 o'clock if you're thinking of a clock, but we're descending in, and then draw the knees into your chest, coming to like the bottom, right? Notice how your knees come in a little more. It's a little bit more of a hug into your roots, into your essence, and then rising up again, going over towards the left, and then back up towards the top, and then over towards the right, down inward towards the depths of you, feeling more, over to the left, up to the top. Moving fairly slowly, right? Think of that balsamic energy, that murky water that we're kind of moving through the pluff mud, the brackish, where it's not salt water and it's not fresh water, right? One more circle. Once you get to the top of the sky, we're going to go in the opposite direction. And so we're going to feel that movement of changing tides in towards your chest, over to the right, and then up towards the sky. I know this is slow, and there's lots going on in my world, in my life, and I'm sure there's lots going on in your world, in your life. So we recognize our environment so that it's more easy to go inward. And believe it or not, a lot of people have a hard time going inward. Once you get to the top of the sky, you're just going to stay there, okay? You're going to feel the knees move a little further from you, so there's an arch in the back. And then you're going to start to bring your ribs. So there's an arch in the back. You could probably put a hand or something in. And as there's the arch, you're going to feel your rib cage come in. So you take a little of the arch in the back away, and you're going to hug the belly in. Bring both feet to the floor or one foot to the ground and then the other. And then bring your hands to find where the top of your hip is. Okay, longer torso means it's probably further down. A shorter torso means it's up higher because you have long limbs compared to your spine. Now once you're there, I want you to wrap the ribs in. I want you to connect to this real diamond-like shape. So it's not the hip point. Find the midpoint, the midpoint between the hip points and the rib cage. And so as you're at that midpoint, then you're going to draw that line to your pubic bone, and then just lift the pubic bone in, and then release the pubic bone out. So just 4 times there. Yes, we are stoking the depth. We are connecting in to feel to the intimate layers of ourselves. It'll help us breathe deeper, and this is going to be a really important process in a moment. So now find it even. You're not pulled up, but you're not too heavy. Now what we're going to do is the same thing with our upper body. So you're just going to exhale. The ribs are pulling in and drawing in towards that navel, and then inhale, expanding. I know it's subtle, a little weird, but we're just stoking the inner layers of our core. The abdomen, the most inner layer of our abdomen, has muscle fibers that run horizontally, which is some of the few muscle fibers in the body that are on that horizon, that horizontal line, last time. So now, ribs are in, belly's in. You're going to pick the right foot up. You're going to pull the right thigh bone down, flex the foot, stretch through your toes, and I want you to notice if your left hip is pulling up. Probably is, so get that left thigh bone down and in, core is drawing in, and with the foot flex, you're going to make, I went counterclockwise first, so make 4, dessert plate, dinner plate circles. Don't go really wide here, and just circle your leg. This is so clearing, this is so healing, and Molly, if you find this and you're watching this, this is straight up for you. It's going to settle the nervous system. Anybody else who has agitation in the body and you need to change the patterning, here you go. This is it. Now you're going to bring the right knee in and hands come. Oh, did we go the other direction? I can't remember. Make sure you go the other direction as well if you didn't. You guys all know I'm a mama bear, right? I have a Cancer moon. It's at the top of my chart. It is why I teach. It is why I share. It is why I reflect the great ways to care for yourself. It's just who I am. It's innate in the promise that I came forward with. Now, we've gone both directions. Hands come around the eye of the knee. You're going to hold on to that knee, not too rough, not too loose, just right. And I want you to, before you move anything, come back to this relationship with the hip points, the rib cage, the breastbone, and the pubic bone, okay? And create the connection there. Left leg's going to stretch out, and you're going to root the left thigh down. So you're going to feel the pubic bone move towards your tail slightly, hug back into the core. So this core is working well. And as you're working well with yourself, you're feeling, right? You're probably feeling muscles you don't always feel, that you don't always stabilize in. Knee pushes forward, hands pull in. So you're creating a resistance that is actually just working the muscles without moving the bones. So you can see there's a lot of engagement and no movement. And feel how profound it is internally. And feel into that internal depth. And if you're not feeling it, then you're not engaging. So we need to engage even more. Stay with the breath. See if you can allow for the breath. It's going to be more up like in your armpits. I told you we were going to get into the psoas and the hips. Here we are, right on point. Now, after you've found the breath, you're waking up the connection. This is going to be a little much. I'm not going to even try to reach my foot. So I'm going to hold on to the knee. The belly continues to twist. I'm not going to run into the flowers. It's not a big twist here. My right hip's barely up. You could straighten the leg, but we're really not warm. So keep the knee bent. Wrap the outer right hip away. Draw, okay, so there's big arch for me. Taking note of it. Feel the ribs drawing in, belly in, and you're going to stretch the right arm by your ear. So this is where, like this is total DJ subtlety moment here. This is not a lot of movement, but it's really big. And it's actually not really big to open us up, but to solidify the connection. To cleanse the nervous system so it feels supported. Because when we live in a world that doesn't acknowledge emotions, like I'm still flabbergasted at how many people have never heard of Brene Brown, which is fine. However, we just, she's one of the few people who's advocating for that energy. Susan Davis, emotional agility. These are women who have come into my life. So you're going to come back through the center, okay? Kind of like half happy baby. You're going to hand to your knee goes wide, and feel how there's a torque. These are what you have to pay attention to. Notice how the ribs are torquing to the right. The right thigh is stretched out. There's a lift behind the right thigh bone. So you're going to roll the belly to the left, hug in, anchor in, shoulders to your back. Maybe stretch the right leg out. It's not about going for a big stretch right here. It's going for stabilization. Draw the ribs in, head's heavy, and then you're going to stretch the left arm by your ear. Left armpit is down, left waistline is anchored, left thigh is heavy. And again, you're breathing more. I know I said breathing into the armpits, that's weird. You're breathing into the horizontal line of the lungs and not so much the vertical line of your lungs. Connecting to that inner horizon. And come all the way back to the center. Bend the right knee. Bring the left arm in. Bring both knees in. Just hold on to the knees. Let everything come back in. And just 8 breaths here. Breathe into the flow of energy from your inner right hip point, right? The inner groin, the pelvic floor, into the diaphragm, into the upper palate. And when you put your awareness here, there's just so much healing energy that's happening. My first teacher training back in 2002 with Dawn and Alba Stapleton, one of their sayings was, where your awareness goes, the prana flows, right? And in that, it's kind of like the same thing. You are what you think, what you focus on. But the prana, the energy, because we're doing yoga, that healing life force that can flow through us and nurture us. It's not so much what we're feeling, but that we're giving ourselves room to feel. Taking sacred care. Right foot comes down, okay? Even the hips out. Gentle hug around the left knee. Oh, sorry, getting ahead of myself. Left leg stretches up. Woo! Do you guys feel it? Do you feel how aware you are of how much that left side had to contract to do these little moves? And since I'm speaking of Dananamba, when I was in Nosara, Costa Rica, so you're going to flex the foot. Oh my God, this is so intense. It's so funny. I did walk all over the zoo yesterday in the 90-degree weather. You're going to draw the ribs in. So notice where you're overarching. We're not pushing it all to the ground where the chin tenses up. The tail is heavy, thighs are heavy, ribs are in. Flexing and then making. So let's go 8 counterclockwise circles. I have to really focus on this side. And then 8 counterclockwise. And go in the other direction. My husband is building a shelf outside, so I keep hearing the drill. And that's kind of what we're doing, is we're like taking a drill straight into the depths of our being and like reassembling, recalibrating. Isn't it crazy how hard it is just to lie here and hold steady and allow for subtle movement? Okay, come back to the center. Knee comes in. Right leg stretches out. So make sure that right leg anchors. Notice what the torque is inside. You got to pull that right thigh inward and internal. Hold on to your knee. Shoulders to your back. Rib cage is drawing in. And it's just a little push and pull, right? So we're moving outward as much as we're moving inward. 8 breaths here. Watch what happens. Turn the observer on. Be a witness to what is happening as you're breathing. Cosmically, there's been so much tension in the sky. It's just what, you know what? In order for things to change and shift, there has to be tension. Things do not change when it's easy. Right? So notice here within yourself, there is an ease. We're lying on the floor, right? There's a receptivity, but there's a fierceness in all of that. After those 8 breaths, feel a little release. You're going to move, right? We're not going for the foot. You're going to move the leg over. We're not pulling the knee down. So sometimes I'll even use my hand as a prop. Wrap the outer left hip down, okay? Draw the waist in. Make the connection between that left hip point and the left rib cage. And then stretch the left arm. Breathe into all that is awakening inside of you. These little movements, when I was doing my teacher training, I could do really big, powerful, momentum-driven movements. I could not do these soft, small movements. It created so much pain. It brought tears forward every time. It brought me into a darkness that was intense. And that's not bad, okay? As long as you know you're not there forever. Everybody has darkness. Everybody has depression. Everybody has anxiety. Everybody has adversity, we just aren't usually guided inward and taught how to breathe into these parts of our being and allow for the nourishment to flow, the healing of it, just even in our breath. It's part of the reason why I never became a full-time therapist. Nothing's wrong with therapists, but I can't just talk about it. I gotta breathe into it, move it. Open the knee out to the side. Once you open the knee out to the side, okay, it's like a half happy baby. Reconnect here. So I already feel this left hip point hiking up into my left rib cage. That's what we're taking note of. So finding the length, drawing in, and then the right arm stretches long. Yes, I know these practices are way more fun in a group of people. However, that you are feeling what there is to feel in the sanctuary of your own space. And I'm here, you guys, reach out. If something comes up and it's too much, don't just change the channel. Listen, our emotions are amazing guides. They are the most powerful guides, in my opinion. It's not about just moving on. Because guess what? That discomfort that comes up walks with you when you move on. And then it's going to get your attention some way, shape, or form. And then inhale, come all the way back through the center. Both knees come in. Just give yourself a little hold. Nothing too crazy. Readjust. See, even my feet went across, right? Readjust. Allow, breathe, receive. We're going into the womb of our soul and caring for that which is yet to be, but marinating in the sacred salve of all that's been. You're going to come back through the center, find that block nearby, feet to the ground. We're doing core work with a head on the floor, right? Feet on the ground. You're going to find the feet, find the tilt, even it out, ribs in, arms push down, throats open. You're going to inhale your hips up, bring a block underneath, and then let the hips rest, okay? Once the hips rest, if you don't have a block, you can do bridge pose. I just want you to feel the pelvis. I feel so out of alignment. Okay, so just taking note of that. I know everything's aligned. It just feels really internally out of alignment. So I've trained myself how to gaze over my nose and see what my ribs are doing, right? Are they torquing? Nope, they're even. My hips are even. But internally, it feels very discombobulated. So rather than be like, oh, I'm not going to do it, the idea is to be like, wow, a lot is shifting. There's a depth of realignment here. And I know a lot's shifting in my own internal physiological self, but also in my life, so much. And breathe. But it's these subtle shifts. And in these subtleties, your body responds, believe it or not. It doesn't take a near-death experience to throw you out of alignment. It doesn't have to be so dramatic. It can be being in a hurry or running late to go be with those that you love and just getting red lights the whole way there. So as you're here, I want the hips heavy, right? My quads aren't overworked, my glutes aren't working. The density of the bones are resting on the block. And you're breathing. feel free to stay here. Feel free to turn the block down a notch. I'd rather you didn't go up a notch, right? Because usually when we go big, we're bypassing, no offense. But we're always going for the hit, the big accomplishment, the big point of productivity. And that's one of the things that's shifting, is how do we receive the big? How do we realize that just being here and breathing is rather profound? And like I said, we're tending to the sacred. We're honoring the womb of our being and that unconditional permission to continue to move forward and develop and grow from the salve of where we've been. So walk the left foot more into the midline. Right knee's going to come up. Keep the knee bent. Notice how you get heavy here, right? There's a torque. So even it out. Draw the side waist in. Throat's open. And then just stretch the right foot up. So 1 foot at a time. My ribs are really torquing to the right. So I'm working super hard. When they torque to the right, I feel nothing. Okay? This is the emotional depth. I feel nothing there. I'm not trying to create the feeling here, but I'm aware of when I level out the rib cage, fill up the left side waist and the left kidney, outer right hip moves back. There's a big shift. So 4 breaths here. So I'm not letting my rib cage drop. When it drops, everything else. I'm sliding the shoulders in, but I'm keeping the ribs drawn in. And then you're going to pick the left foot up, bend the right knee just for a moment, realign, regroup, open the throat. Then you're going to bend the left knee, return the right foot to the ground. Again, realign, reorient with your inner world based on your environment. And then breathe into it. Flex the foot. Isn't it crazy how the two sides are so different? Now your right foot just had a different shift in the blood flow. So do realize there's a new sensation in your right foot. Do realize there's a pressure in the head. The subtle is profound. And when you can actually hold space for the subtleties, then you can navigate with so much more resilience and clarity and opportunity. Okay, you're going to bend the left knee, keep the left thigh bone heavy. Your core is what's picking up your right foot. Both knees are going to bend, level it out. Realign. It's really wild what's going on here. I feel like I'm so out of whack through this part of my being right now. And then both feet go up. Hands are by your side. You can point the feet if you want. Right? If the heels come together, just don't create a lot of contraction. You can point the feet and flex the toes. Flex the feet, do the one that is working for you. So I call this supported shoulder stand. A lot of people will do this pose in the middle of the room and call it legs up the wall. It's not. There's so much still working. Legs up the wall is a total point of relaxation. Your whole nervous system is supported. Right now, we're still having to work. So it's a very active offering, but in a different, it's really a feminine action. So both knees are going to bend. Right foot comes to the earth, and then the left foot. Just breathe here. I was ready to rush into the next thing. So I want you to just pause, both feet on the ground, what's going on in the body. Now when we come off the block, we're not rolling down vertebrae by vertebrae. So ground into the feet, make sure the heels are under your knees. You will need to engage, solidify, feel that warrior-like energy of what it's going to take to come off the block. Right? Inhale the hips up, move the block to the side, and now what you're going to do is lead with those inner thighs, but keep the core pulling in so your tail comes down before the mid and the low back. Tail gets heavy, release all the way up through the neck, and then I like to undo the shoulders and pull the rib cage out of the low back rather than adjusting the hips. Stretch the arms back behind the head with the block. You can push into the block just to feel what's neutral for you, and then stretch your legs out long. Yes, I remember doing all these classes in a room, not just at Hot Yoga Louisville, but when I was teaching in Kiowa, when I was teaching in Charleston. I did these classes at Yum Brands. So I can feel the energy of all those of you who have done these with me. And I'm inspired, I've always been inspired to do them. Because of the twinkle that your eyes shine back to me after teaching. So you're going to walk your feet over to the left, okay? I call this my peeled banana pose. Banana peel pose, thrown on the floor, deflated socks, however you want to. Walk the feet over to the right, okay? We're not relaxing the legs. The heels are pushing down just enough. The waistline is moving over towards the left. The ribs are drawing in. Now the hands are just going to slide over to the right a little bit. So feet move to the right, hands move to the right. 8 breaths into the sideline. So what we're doing is we're creating a lot of space between that hip point and the rib cage. We're opening up the intercostal muscles. The armpit's heavy. So that whole line from the palm of the left hand to the sole of the left foot is big. Holy moly. Now, if we hit any point and you feel like crying, like tears are going to come up, do not hold them back. They are there to heal because it's a way you can finally release a tension in your being. There's nothing wrong with you crying. However, you need to be held in that. So call on your angels, let loved ones know. You need a little extra space to care for yourself. As my daughter screams. And then you're going to bring your hands back to the center first. Slide your feet back to the center. Find the center. Breathe into it. These are classes. Mary Ann always loved these classes. So I'll tag her because these are her creme de la cremes. Okay, feet move over. Do you all hear the anger roaring out of my daughter's voice? Okay, so feet go to the left, hands go to the right. Her dad's here, so I'm not worried about it. Hands go to the left, feet go to the left. I want you to breathe into that right sideline. If you didn't know, the number is 8. Siblings. It's such an important part, right? Because when you have siblings, they teach you how to express and stand up for yourself. They help dissolve the egocentric identity. I'm kind of laughing, by the way, because I don't have to deal with it, so. And now you can probably hear it at a different level because they went outside. Sorry, I have to laugh. And if you can't hear it and you have it, great, but my children are in a major argument. Because that's what happens when you spend so much time. There's going to be an agitation and a tension that surfaces. And then inhale, come all the way back through the center. Hands come back through, feet come back through. And then just breathe into it. 5 breaths here. All right, here we go. You're going to bend your elbows, move the block to the side. When I say here we go, we're not mandating much of anything. You're going to bring your knees into your chest. If you've ever had body work done to you, then you can understand what I'm doing. Like, you lie down. You let gravity be of service. So bring your knees back into your chest again. Let your head come back to this point of connecting to your inner being. From the soles of the feet, through your legs, through the ribs, through the neck, through the jaw. This is a highly restorative practice. It's getting us out of fight or flight, which is part of the reason why I could smile at the argument of my kids. Because if I was in it, I would probably be yelling too. Total disclosure. I am not a good parent who doesn't yell. And I really don't see anything wrong with it because they also see the other side of me. And we stay in dialogue about it. So we stay in dialogue with ourselves. We stay in a conversation with our inner world. The inner alchemy is the most potent and powerful you have. All right? And there's passion there. There's serenity there. There's peace there. There's anger. There's curiosity. There's compassion. There's empathy. There's sadness. There's depression. There's anxiety. There's overwhelm. There's courage. There's love. There's braveness. There's boldness. It's all there. It's all in each and every one of us. But we have to find the container for it. And understand how the somatics of the body, okay? You're going to roll over to one side and come up, see it. And you might be like, whoa, right? A little sort of dreamy. Whew. So in that sort of like reorientation, when we come out of the womb, we're horizontal, okay? For so much of the time. And then it's a big celebration, right? Like I'm a little blue. There's a big celebration of a child being able to sit upright, right? It's a major milestone in the development of an individual. And that you have to be able to come from being horizontal to vertical before you can start to watch. So I'm understanding that evolution in this process right here and right now. Notice the sort of loopiness of the brain. There's nothing wrong with you. We've just moved so far out of fight-flight that we can be in a place of responsiveness, of that serenity, of that settled. A lot of us don't know how to be here in a sober, natural way, and because it's a place of vulnerability. So we want to breathe into it. Have you ever had a massage and they say, take your time and here's water. There's a reason for it. So we're going to do that mini pigeon pose. You're going to move your feet over to one side. You can tell I'm teaching next to a whole bunch of fragrant flowers. It's creating that little dryness. So come into mini pigeon pose. Your left thigh is going to turn in, right? Or tea party pose or whatever. Your left thigh is going to turn in, draw into the belly, find the length, okay? And as you find the length on this right side, creating the space on the right side, you're folding over on the right side. I brought my block with me, bow all the way down, widen the elbows. I actually need to turn my block up. That's a sign of how much we're reconnecting. I have to turn my block all the way up, and I really want pressure in the center of the forehead, okay? And as you rest, and if you don't have a block, grab some blankets in a book or two and stack it up. Grab pillows. Yes, it helps for it to be firm, but it doesn't have to be. If you didn't know, 4 more breaths, just letting the breath move to where it needs to move. So all of our moves are subtle but profound. You're going to exhale out completely, ground the legs to the earth. Lift the roof of the mouth, like move from the roof of the mouth to pick your head up. And then just slide the legs in, come up. We're going to go to the other side. It makes you a little loopy. I got to be really mindful with my hip. Okay, so because we're working so much of the, I can't ever remember, these very tiny muscles, the inner workings, right? We worked the horizontal, the deepest layer of the abdominal wall. We're working with the psoas, even though that's a big muscle group. It's a bunch of muscles that come together to create the tenderloin of your being. And you have these tiny little worm-like muscles. I can't ever remember the name, so don't try to say it, because I'll mess it up. These tiny little muscles that come off the spine, and we're working those. So we're working a very intrinsic layer of our being. And that intrinsic layer is essential. We typically get focused on the periphery, right? Like, oh, look at my muscles, right? Or lack thereof, right? But that solidity and strengthening the inner lines is what we're doing. And that is that feminine principle. That's the feminine embodiment. So block or no blocks, up to you. Your feet have moved to the other side. Thighs turning in, drawing the belly in, finding that length. Okay, pubic bones down, tails down. Finding that length between the rib cage and the hip point. Lift up, lean forward. We're also massaging our viscera, our vital organs, and then come down. I could easily go further for a deeper stretch here, but I'm not. And just breathing. the earth. And inhale, come all the way up. Once you come all the way up, move the block out of the way. We're going to come onto our hands and knees. You should feel heavy, right? You should feel grounded. And move back into child's pose. Okay, so we can get a stretch through the back body. We're doing this as a forward bend. Maybe even move back into child's pose with a block under your head. That pressure in the center of the forehead is just going to help the system decompress even more. One more breath here. So I'm going to give you two options, okay? You're going to inhale and slowly come seated. Let the energy settle. We have spent the whole practice lying down in a very restorative place. If you know, and this is the beautiful thing that this is being recorded and hopefully it downloads. It hasn't been downloading for me of lately, so I apologize if you are a YouTube preferred. Facebook is where it's at, okay? So if you're in the replay of this or you're watching it multiple times, it's such a restorative practice. This is probably a signature Teresa class right now. That you can choose here to do downward facing Shavasana. Actually, forget it. I'm giving you the choice. Come forward all the way to your belly, and we're just all going to do downward facing Shavasana. If you get here and it's not of service, then you can come on your back. That's where I was going, okay? The reason why we're doing downward facing Shavasana is because it's actually, we've done so much for the inner realm. It's going to hold the front body and there's going to be a release. And what I want, I'm going to share with you one of my tools when the emotional depth has me in a circuit overwhelm, right? Where it feels all systems are sizzling. Where my inner circuitry is not operating. This is my tool. Is to come to the belly, face down. And what you're going to do is you're just going to inhale in, feel into the back body, but as you exhale, you're going to let everything fall. If you know the points of chakras, like through the hips, through the low back, through the solar plexus, the heart, the throat, the center of the head, and the crown. And as you breathe, you're just going to let, it's a light bath on your belly though. You're going to breathe and let it bathe through you and carry the energy into the soil of the earth, because the earth is the great mother. She is the foundation of our life. She is our greatest resource. So when we let her hold us face down, it's actually very settling into the system. So 8 breaths here. If you can, just let the center of the forehead have the pressure again. If it's too much in the shoulders, you can stretch your arms by your sides and do 8 breaths on the left cheek and then 8 breaths on the right cheek. breath in and a big deep breath out. Wiggle your toes. Circle the ankles. Re-extend the legs out. And as you inhale, I want you to inhale, lifting up into the back body so that your chin doesn't go forward. It's just this lift up, walk your elbows in. Come into a Sphinx pose. Let the head be more free and clear. Now, unfortunately, the only way to do this, you're going to walk your legs more forward, okay? And then you're going to push into your arms. I'm tucking my toes just to get a stretch through the feet. You don't have to. Stretch your hips back. So we get a little bit of an inversion at the very end, okay? Move the head around. Walk your hands in so you come vertical again. Find the length. And then if you can, I'm going to guide you so you come all the way up standing, okay? Because we've been on the ground. You're just going to walk back. Your knees are bent. Pause and bring your elbows to your thighs. A little bit of a huddle pose. I'm bringing my water with me, and then you're going to push down to stand up. And as you're standing, you're going to find yourself ready to move. And in that movement, you have this opportunity to kind of dance in the watery realms of your truth. If you need to have a bigger release, I highly recommend you journal. Or sometimes what I do is I have therapy sessions with my angels. Some people would think that it was just me crazy talking, but it's really profound and helpful. So nourish yourself. I stopped everything to drink water. You want to take a bath, take a shower, turn on music, have a good cry, some of us don't cry, we actually laugh. We need comedy, and there's nothing wrong with that. You just want to know. And what you want to do is bring that energy that's so buried inside out and let it come forward. You can Epsom salt bath, I recommend that. Even throw crystals in your bath if you want. Do something that's going to really nourish. Eat food straight from the earth, right? Like maybe you don't have fresh fruit or vegetables, but go take a walk, be in nature. Find these ways, read something that's inspiring. Feel this permission of a level of closure. And in that closure, that you're gonna recommit to taking sacred care of your essence, the depth of your being. But we need a little permission to allow more of that freeing of that energy that's been bound inside of us. And once that can really come forward, and maybe you're good, once that can really come forward, we can feel that grander shift. Not so much that we know, because none of us came out of the womb knowing where we were going to be when we were 45, 60. I know a lot of people who are about to turn 50. So we really want to celebrate the salve of where we've been, right? the residual, the layers on us that nurture us, but also trust in the trajectory of where we're going, and know the emotional depth is part of the tidal waters that is moving us. This is the theme of July. I'm really going to just pat myself on the shoulder for a minute. Is that as I do my work with the cosmic energies and then I listen to the details of these master astrologers who've been doing it for years, it's really a wild unfolding this month. So be with that energy, be with this turning of tides. So from my heart to yours, may you be well. May you trust in the sacred energy of you, your essence. Know that it came forward, and in that moment of individuation, we're never separate. We just aren't. And so we relate to each other in these wild unfoldings, and I will be with you. I will not be with you next Thursday. I'm just not. Sorry. That would be July 14th. We're just going to take a little getaway. So I'm going to give myself the room to have the space. Soul hugs. I love that, Pat. Have a beautiful afternoon. And it is. It really, I'm embracing the fact that I'm a virtual yoga teacher now. And the transmission is still profound. It's different. It's so different, but it's still profound. So whether you're watching this live or on the replay, years later, moments later, whatever it is, I honor you. I adore you because you chose to listen and follow this practice to this point, and care for yourself, your whole self. So until next time, be soulfully you.